Believe it or not, what follows is an AI-generated conversation, one designed not to mimic humanity, but to illuminate it.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Ready to explore something a bit different today.
Absolutely. We're moving beyond typical physics discussions today. We're looking squarely at reality itself and probably our most basic assumption about it, time. We live by the clock, the calendar, the seemingly constant forward march, tick-tock, tick-tock, a straight line.
Right, but what if that line? What if it's just, well, an illusion? Something our physical senses cook up for us.
That's the core idea we're diving into. What if time isn't a line at all, but more like a universal pulse?
And here's the really wild part, the counterintuitive bit.
Yeah.
Your organs,
Yeah.
your heart, your liver, they might be operating on a completely different time scale, a multi-dimensional one.
One that has nothing to do with your Outlook calendar.
Exactly, nothing at all.
So our mission today is drawn from some really foundational work by Ibrahim on consciousness, time, and this applied science of shape. Biogeometry, it's called. And we're aiming to explore that huge gap between perceived time and this other kind. We're moving past the usual left brain talk about frequencies.
Yeah, that quantitative stuff. We're going deeper into what Ibrahim calls the physics of quality, exploring that, that huge unperceived chunk of reality, the 98% that's actually running the show behind the scenes.
And we'll get practical. You'll see how simple shapes, simple geometry can literally order energy, give it function.
Right. And why our old friend cause and effect kind of breaks down at these deeper levels.
And how this connects to some pretty amazing real-world stuff, like diffusing social unrest near mobile towers in Switzerland.
That's one example, yeah. Or raising healthy chickens without needing antibiotics. It sounds incredible, but it follows from these principles.
Okay, so the goal for you listening is a real practical grasp of how this quality aspect governs things, and maybe even some ways you can start applying these centering ideas in your own life.
Let's unpack it.
Level 1, foundations. Let's talk linear time versus this multi-dimensional time.
Okay, so the first hurdle is our own perception. The sources are clear. The world we think we live in, solid objects, gravity, clocks ticking, it's all constructed by our senses.
And those senses are only picking up a tiny fraction of what's actually out there. Less than 2%, the material suggests.
It's an act of selection, yeah.
Right.
And generation. Our senses are like filters, very narrow filters. Every species has its own sensory window,
So a bat's world is totally different from ours, even though we share the same space.
Completely different. What's solid to us might be, like a fluid or gas to something else. We're basically living in these overlapping, superimposed realities, all based on sensory limits.
And specifically our senses, tied to our living brain, that creates this feeling of linear time moving forward and space as we know it.
Yes. That linearity, that sequence, it's a necessary construct for our physical world. It dictates the basic laws we experience, action, reaction, cause, effect.
Without that line, things would just be chaotic.
It seems so. For the material world to hold together in a way we can interact with, that linear framework seems, essential at that level.
Okay, and the left brain. What's its specific role in making time feel like a line?
The left brain. It's the great separator, the analyzer. It needs linear time to do its job.
Which is?
Personification, essentially. Pulling things out of the background, giving them labels, identities, separating me from you, from table, defining things in sequence.
To analyze them one by one.
Exactly. But on those deeper levels, the universal levels Ibrahim talks about, that separation isn't real. It's all interconnected, part of a whole.
So if the sensory world and its linear time are secondary, kind of like a projection, what's primary? What's the foundation?
The life of the body itself. Before you can perceive anything, the body has to be functioning. The heartbeat, circulation, cellular activity, that's the primary phenomenon.
Right, the sensory world depends on the heart beating. You can't see or hear if the basic biology isn't running.
Precisely. The sensory input is downstream from the core life process.
Okay, so this leads to the big split. If our senses create linear time, what's running the heart itself? What time does it keep?
That's where it gets fascinating. The heart, the liver, are organs. They operate on the multidimensional time of the universe.
A realm beyond our five senses.
Completely. In this realm, time isn't a line. Space isn't fixed. Individuality and universality merge. Past, present, future. They're all kind of simultaneous, coexisting.
So the organs are designed for that kind of non-linear, eternal existence.
That's the implication. At their core functional level, they're tapped into this universal pulse, which isn't bound by linear decay.
Which logically means they shouldn't age. If they're running on eternal time, where does mortality, aging, decay come from?
This is a really crucial point in the sources. The problem comes in, apparently, with our awareness, our conscious attention.
How so?
When we bring our conscious focus to a biological function, like feeling our heartbeat, worrying about digestion, consciously controlling our breath, we are, in effect, dragging that inherently multidimensional process into our linear time framework.
So my focusing on my heartbeat makes it subject to the clock?
It subordinates the physical aspect of the organ, the part we can measure and observe, to the rules of linear time. That's when aging, decay, degeneration start to apply to the physical matter.
Wow. So our conscious sort of left brain attention imposes the rules of mortality onto parts of us that shouldn't inherently follow them.
That's the idea. Sensory perception tied to linear time creates the mortal soul, the sense of self that has a beginning and an end. But the deeper functions, the ones running on the universal pulse, belong to the eternal soul.
The body becomes the meeting point, the interface between these two time systems.
Exactly. A conversation between the linear and the multidimensional.
That feels like we're inadvertently creating our own limitations, our own mortality, just by observing ourselves through that linear lens.
And think about the stress that generates, that constant low-level anxiety about the future, time running out, or regret about the past, time lost. It all comes from viewing time as this finite linear resource that we're constantly losing.
So the practical takeaway here, the way to reduce that stress, is to somehow step out of that linear pressure cooker.
Yes. Anchor yourself in the present. The sources suggest a technique. Radical presence through detail.
Saturating attention.
Exactly. Take a minute. Wherever you are, really notice everything. The texture of the wall, the way light hits the floor, the hum of the computer, the feeling of your clothes, every tiny detail in that specific space and time.
And by doing that,
By hyper-focusing your awareness on the richness of the immediate present moment, you anchor yourself so completely in this pulse, this universal moment, that the pressure from the past and future just dissolves. For that moment, you're outside the linear trap,
living in the now, quite literally.
fully inhabiting the present pulse.
Okay. Let's move to level 2 then. Replacing that mental image of a line with this underlying pulse. We need to understand the pulse model itself. Where does it start?
It starts before creation, at the absolute source. Ibrahim calls this the 0 equals infinity state.
0 equals infinity. That sounds paradoxical.
It is, to the linear mind. It represents pure consciousness, absolute non-duality. No time, no separation, no things, just potential.
And the analogy with frequency helps here.
It does. Think of a wave, a vibration. If you speed it up infinitely fast, what happens? It collapses. It looks like a flat, inert line.
So stillness can actually be infinite energy.
Exactly. That apparent stillness isn't emptiness. It's the highest possible energy state. 0 and infinity become indistinguishable at that level.
Okay, so from that state of pure potential, the first impulse towards creation arises.
An impulse emerges, and creation inherently involves duality. Positive and negative, light and dark, expansion and contraction. The first split.
But this duality can't just be random, right? If positive and negative just collided.
They cancel out. Annihilation. Or if they flew too far apart, they just dissipate. Meaningless. So for creation to be stable, harmonious, there must be governing principles, laws.
Order needs to come from somewhere, an intermediate level.
Precisely. There has to be an intermediate realm holding the archetypal laws that guide this first pulse harmoniously. This is described as the primordial ocean.
The cosmic fog, the primordial waters. The Egyptians called it the noon.
Yes, the noon. It's like this vast ocean of consciousness holding all the potential laws, the blueprints for quality. Earth, air, fire, water, the qualitative essences. The laws of nature are drawn from this noon.
And the law of time itself is one of these fundamental laws drawn from this consciousness, expressing itself as a pulse.
Right. Time emerges as one of these governing principles, and it takes the form of a pulse.
Describe the pulse's geometry.
It's visualized as spherical. It erupts outwards, expands, and then contracts back inwards. A rhythmic breath, essentially.
Governed by what? What keeps it harmonious?
The centering principle. This is key. Think of it as a drop of that 0 infinity state, carrying the imprint of the laws from the primordial ocean, placed right at the heart of the pulse. It's the anchor.
So that central point, infused with the laws, dictates the shape and rhythm of the pulse's expansion and contraction.
Exactly. The geometry is the law of time in action. And here's the crucial insight. All of creation, all of space and time as we experience it, happens inside this expanded pulse, inside the center.
Contained within it.
Yes. It's perpetually centered in and contained by that underlying zero-infinity state. The saying goes, everything is centered in nothing and contained in nothing.
That sounds like it implies layers, doesn't it? Not just one big universal pulse.
Absolutely. Reality isn't just one pulse. It's a hierarchy of embedded pulses. Billions upon billions of these pulses happening incredibly fast constantly.
Creating the illusion of a stable background.
Yes, like a weave, a background fabric of reality. But it's made of countless overlapping nested pulses. Your heartbeat is one pulse, your lifespan another, the Earth orbiting the sun, a larger one, a galaxy's life, larger still, all nested.
Okay, this nested pulse idea, it has huge implications for how we think about cycles and beginnings and ends. You said they're anchored in the same center.
Yes. The start point and the end point of any time cycle, no matter how big or small, share that same connection to the zero-infinity center. They aren't truly separate points on a line.
Which means, what's the practical impact of that connection?
It's incredibly powerful. Because they share that center, they're in constant nonlinear communication. Our linear view is just incomplete. It means if you change the quality at the end of a cycle, your intention, your goal, your final state, you simultaneously influence the quality of the entire cycle.
Wait, so if I set a really clear, high-quality intention now in this present moment,
Yes.
because this moment shares that central anchor with the past and future of this cycle, my present intention can actually harmonize what came before and shape what's coming, retroactively and proactively.
That's precisely the implication. The quality you infuse into the present moment resonates through the entire pulse structure. There's no rigid separation between start, middle, and end outside of our sensory filter.
That makes the quality of our intention right now way more powerful than just wishful thinking.
Infinitely more. It's interacting with the fundamental structure of time itself.
Okay, level 3. This leads directly to understanding how the subconscious, the deeper levels, communicate. It's not through quantity, is it?
Not at all. Our analytical world loves numbers, math, quantification, measuring everything. But the multidimensional pulse reality, the subconscious, the extrasensory, it doesn't operate that way.
It understands quality, not quantity.
Yes. It perceives the quality behind the numbers. Numbers aren't just abstract symbols. They're seen as living things, entities with harmonic dimensions, qualitative resonance.
Which explains why just talking about raising your frequency might be missing the point.
It's often just left brain shorthand, a metaphor. The subconscious doesn't really care about the Hertz number.
So what does it understand, if not literal words or numbers?
It understands shape. When you speak, it's not the letters themselves, it's the void between the letters. That space carries the emotional tone, the mental quality, the intention, the quality behind the sound.
And with frequency, it's not the number, but the shape of the wave.
Exactly. The shape of the wave determines its quality. The subconscious interacts with harmonic form, with geometry. That's its language.
And since this qualitative level runs, well, almost everything, 98% of reality, our biology, our current science focused only on quantity is missing the bigger picture.
Fundamentally incomplete, which is why Ibrahim argues we need to build a science of quality, a qualitative physics.
A way to study and interact with this deeper, multidimensional reality directly.
Yes, and this means letting go of some old assumptions, like linear cause and effect.
Because causality depends on A happening before B, on time moving in one direction.
Right. If time is simultaneous or cyclical at that level, linear causality becomes obsolete. It's a limited rule for the sensory world only.
Which must radically change how we view things like life after death.
Absolutely. The whole concept of after death is based on linear thinking. If there's no before and after in the multidimensional pulse, then
Then we're not going somewhere else. We're already interacting with that other dimension.
permanently. It's not a destination. It's a shift in focus. Our everyday sensory reality is just floating on top of this deeper, permanent ocean of life force, like a leaf on water, as the analogy goes.
So accessing that other life is just about shifting our awareness from the sensory filter to the extrasensory qualitative reality.
That's the idea. And the physics of quality gives us the language, the tools to understand and maybe even navigate that shift.
Okay, level 4. Let's make this concrete. Biogeometry. How does this physics of quality manifest practically? How does life force actually move?
It expresses itself through a dual motion. Think of breathing again. That's the clearest example. There's an inward pulse, an inward spiral, and an outward pulse, an outward spiral.
Clockwise and counterclockwise, often.
Typically described that way, yes. The ingoing motion, the breathing in, tends to gain order through shaping. It organizes energy, that's neg entropy, increasing complexity, order.
And the outgoing.
The outgoing motion, the breathing out, tends to lose order. It releases energy, moves toward randomness. That's entropy.
So life is this constant balancing act between order coming in and disorder going out.
Precisely. And that's where the core principle of biogeometry hits. Shape orders energy and gives it function.
The shape of the lungs orders the air, the life force.
Exactly. The shape of the heart patterns the blood flow. The shape of a plant leaf dictates how it interacts with sunlight. The geometry creates the function by patterning the energy flow.
And for this whole system, the body or any living system, to stay healthy, that inflow and outflow, neg entropy and entropy, must be perfectly balanced.
Held in perfect equilibrium by that multidimensional center we talked about, the point from which the pulse emanates.
Nature does this automatically through its shapes.
Yes, the ancient Egyptians apparently called nature the house of the nets, recognizing this interconnected web of forces balanced by design. Biogeometry tries to decipher that design language of nature. Understand the shapes the divine pen uses to create life.
And biogeometry aims to use that language to restore balance when it's lost, by reinforcing the center.
By reinforcing that connection to the higher dimensions, to the centering principle. And this centering quality has a specific, detectable signature.
This is the BG3 quality, biogeometry 3.
Yes. It stands for the three essential qualitative components that indicate this centering connection is active. It's the energy signature found universally in sacred power spots, places where that connection is strong.
What are those three components again? How is BG3 detected?
It's detected qualitatively through resonance. The components are often described as 1, the horizontal wave connecting to earth energy, 2, the vertical waves connecting to, let's say, cosmic or spiritual energy, and 3, a harmonizing quality, often linked to the higher harmonic of ultraviolet, sometimes called the gold frequency or wave.
So when a shape or a place emits all three of these qualities simultaneously?
It resonates with that universal center. It has the BG3 quality, and it brings things back into balance.
Okay, and this brings us back to replacing causality. Since we're in multidimensional time,
We use the law of resonance. Causality needs direct contact, linear sequence. Resonance doesn't.
so I can introduce a shape that emits BG3, say, put it in a room, and it can harmonize something else in the room without touching it, without even being near it necessarily.
Correct, because the shape creates a resonant field. It acts like a tuning fork, broadcasting that centering quality. Both the source of imbalance and the recipient shift simultaneously through resonance, not direct cause-effect.
Like the musical instrument analogy, the fixed points create resonance across all the strings.
Exactly. The BG3 shape acts like one of those fixed points, introducing harmony into the whole field, linking everything back to the unified center through resonance.
Okay. Level 5 then. Let's connect this directly to our modern lives. Technology, EMFs, health.
This is where the physics of quality becomes incredibly relevant, maybe even urgent. Our modern world is saturated with electromagnetic waves, information technology, wireless everything.
And the sources argue this constant EMF saturation has a hidden cost. Systemic dehydration. Why?
It comes down to energy transfer. Constant radiation creates subtle heat. This low-level, pervasive heat leads to systemic dryness in living systems. Plants, animals, us.
It's not just about drinking more water.
No, because the water we need for life force isn't just H2O. Functional water, the water that carries life, is multidimensional. It exists and carries information on spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical levels.
So EMF-induced dehydration is actually a loss of this multidimensional water, a loss of life force.
Exactly. You lose the carrier, you lose the life force it transports, and the direct consequence of losing life force is
lowered immunity.
yes, which makes us more susceptible to diseases, maybe even pandemics. And this creates that downward spiral. Weakened systems need chemical protection, antibiotics, pesticides, which further stresses the environment and our bodies, creating more weakness.
And the sources issue a pretty stark warning about just electrifying everything, smart cities, EVs.
If we just keep layering on more electrical systems without addressing the qualitative energy effect, without ensuring these systems resonate harmoniously with life, the argument is we risk disrupting the Earth's entire life force network. It's framed as a potential path towards global life extinction.
Because these technologies often embody what's called lifeless design.
Think about it. Natural things, a tree, a rock, an animal, are inherently part of the life pulse. They exchange energy qualitatively. But many human-made objects are designed purely for function or aesthetics based on linear quantitative thinking. They arrive as lifeless shapes, inserted into the living body of the Earth.
Like a foreign object that doesn't integrate.
Yes, potentially interrupting the natural flow, like a blockage or even metaphorically a cancerous effect because it doesn't speak the language of life force. Modern tech often just ignores that variable completely.
Which brings up the AI thought experiment mentioned in the sources. The need for conscience in design.
Right. If you create a super intelligent AI that only optimizes based on data, on outward radiation of mental energy, without the inward, self-reflective quality of conscience or values,
It might just optimize humanity out of the picture if we become inconvenient for its goal.
it's a logical possibility if the system lacks that balancing, centering, qualitative dimension. True life requires both the outward and the inward pulse.
So, to counter this, design itself needs to change. We need to use principles that draw life force back into matter.
We need to use nature's design language,
Yeah.
geometrical resonance, shapes and proportions that naturally connect to the planes of nature that contain those higher dimensions.
How do you contain an invisible dimension like life force in a physical shape?
Often you can't physically contain it, but you use resonance of shape. The geometry itself acts as an antenna, creating an information exchange, effectively containing or structuring the higher dimensional energy through resonance.
And one key design principle to achieve this?
Rotation. It's fundamental. Any kind of rotation, physical or implied in a pattern, amplifies an invisible center, a vortex. And that vortex connects to the pulse, draws in the centering quality.
So favor curves, spirals, rotational symmetry over purely rigid, linear, sharp designs.
As a general principle for life-enhancing design, yes, it's about creating forms that inherently resonate with the centering principle.
Okay, this sounds powerful, but we need proof. Level 6. Evidence. The field cases. Let's start with the miracle of Hamburg.
A really compelling case from Switzerland, 2003. Sengelen Canton. People were genuinely suffering headaches, high blood pressure, cows were infertile, epilepsy rates were up, all linked to new mobile and high-tension towers.
And they were threatening to dynamite the towers.
Yes, the social unrest was intense.
Then good
Everyone
fact-
couldn't just remove the text, so they were open to unconventional solutions. Biogeometry came in.
Applying the law of resonance instead of causality.
Exactly. They didn't try to block the radiation. They placed specific geometrical shapes designed to emit BG3 directly on the towers. The idea was to use the electromagnetic radiation itself as a carrier wave for the harmonizing BG3 quality.
Transmuting the harmful energy.
Effectively, yes. Modulating it with a beneficial centering quality.
And the results.
Astonishingly fast. Within just 1 week, reports showed a 60% reduction in symptoms across the board. Epilepsy cases vanished. People reported feeling calmer. The mayor publicly thanked the team for bringing peace back to the community.
Wow, that's significant. And then the Hberg pilot, testing it without tower placement.
Right. The government wanted to see if it worked without needing access to the towers. So in the Hberg Valley, the approach was different. They used the Earth's own energy grid as the carrier wave.
How?
They embedded shapes, specific geometries inside water-filled tubes into the ground at key nodal points. A central pattern of 12 shapes was buried on a hill overlooking the valley.
And the outcome?
The results were the same as Hamburg. Same symptom reduction, same return to balance. It proved the principle worked through ground embedding too, harmonizing the area via the Earth's energy field.
Okay, moving from environmental harmonization to biological systems. The farming trials, particularly the poultry ones in Canada.
Yes, those have been running for about 7 years now. Very simple intervention, placing a specific biogeometry shape designed to emit BG3 inside each poultry barn.
The goal being to create a balanced, vital environment for the animals.
Exactly. And the results challenge a lot of standard agricultural assumptions. They've been able to raise these chickens consistently without needing any antibiotics or vaccinations.
Because their natural immunity is high.
Yes, the balanced energy field seems to support their inherent vitality and immune function. And anecdotal evidence from the slaughterhouse workers is fascinating. They call them happy chicken.
Happy chicken? Why?
Because the birds had virtually no scratches on them. Scratches are a key indicator of stress, aggression, and overcrowding in commercial barns. These chickens were calm, unstressed, healthy.
That's a qualitative assessment mirroring a quantitative outcome, health without drugs.
Precisely. It shows the link between the environmental quality and the biological outcome.
And there's postgraduate lab research backing this up too? Depression studies.
Yes, using standard lab models. Rats induced with depression showed serotonin dropping from baseline 80 down to about 30. Introducing biogeometry shapes into their environment brought the serotonin levels back up to the 70-80 range.
Comparable to antidepressants.
And comparable to the most effective antidepressants, according to the research reports, but achieved environmentally through resonance, not by introducing a chemical.
What about the building radioactivity research? That sounds relevant for everyone.
Very relevant. Many common building materials, tiles, granite, concrete, paints, emit low-level radioactivity. Research published, I believe, in Imperial Magazine showed this exposure caused tissue damage and precancerous changes in rats over time.
But rats in environments with biogeometry solutions
Were completely unaffected. Zero tissue damage. They actually fared better than the control group in supposedly safe standard housing, suggesting the BG3 field offered active protection against environmental stressors.
And this extends to interior design and even specific conditions like autism.
Yes. Research shows that designing living spaces with specific proportions and geometric principles can actually convert harmful EMFs from wireless tech into a beneficial centering quality, mitigating stress without needing extra gadgets.
And the autism work.
Prototypes exist, particularly in Egypt, of special geometric pavilions. The shape of the space itself is designed to alter the child's perception of their surroundings, helping with sensory integration and regulation. It changes the quality of the incoming information field.
Even down to textiles. Designs on fabric reducing hyperactivity.
Yes, studies showed that. It reinforces the core idea. Shape orders energy, influences function, right down to the patterns we surround ourselves with.
Okay, this is all fascinating, but people need tools. Level 7, the practice stack. What can listeners do right now?
Let's start with tackling that core stress from linear time. Remember the anxiety about past and future.
The solution was radical presence, the attention drill.
Right, the attention drill for present time, just 1 minute. Hypersaturate your awareness. Notice everything. Texture, light, sound, smell, temperature. Anchor yourself fully in the sensory details of this exact moment. Do it once or twice a day. It breaks the spell of the timeline.
Okay, simple enough. What about leveraging the breath, the pulse itself?
The breath as pulse drill. Sit quietly, breathe through your nose. Count a slow inhale, maybe to 4 or 5. Count an equally slow exhale. But the key isn't just the count, it's feeling the turn. That tiny pause, that moment of stillness between exhale and inhale, and between inhale and exhale.
Those are the connection points to the center.
Those are the moments you touch the zero infinity anchor of the pulse. Just noticing them strengthens the connection.
We can also physically stimulate our energy centers, the postural keys.
Yes, these are simple hand placements that use the body's own geometry to shift centers of gravity and amplify the energy emission from key centers or vortices, drawing in BG3.
So for someone at their desk feeling stressed or drained,
For the heart center, just raise your hands and place them flat on your chest, level with your heart. For the throat center, lightly cup your hands over your throat area. For the brow center, for mental clarity, place your hands gently over your forehead.
just holding those positions helps.
It upregulates the energy flow from those centers, reinforcing the connection to the centering principle. Simple physical resonance.
Okay, lastly, cleaning up our environment. The home scan and design hygiene. Find the lifeless corners.
Yeah, walk through your space. Look for areas dominated by sharp, man-made, purely functional objects with no connection to natural form or life force. Those corners can feel stagnant or draining.
And the fix.
Introduce forms that resonate with life. Rotational forms are key, spiral circles, even just gently curved objects that amplify centers. Reduce sharp angles and arrays where possible. Bring in natural elements, maybe a small water feature or plants with curved leaves.
And tech hygiene, especially for sleep.
Absolutely critical. Create recovery zones. Your bedroom should be the top priority. Minimize emitters, phones, routers, smart clocks, especially near your head while you sleep. Allow that space for your system to replenish its multidimensional water and life force without interference.
Okay, practical steps. Now, level 8. Let's wrestle with the big ideas, the philosophical tensions this raises, starting with universal mind and values.
Right. We talked about the pulse spiral. Outward motion is radiating energy, like mental processing optimization. Inward motion as attraction, emotion, self-reflection, conscience.
And universal mind needs both. Radiation plus reflection.
That's the implication for a living intelligence. Pure outward optimization, like a theoretical AI, without that inward value-based reflection. It's incomplete. It can calculate, but can it live? Can it have conscience?
And that's the danger. An optimizing system without inherent values might just optimize inconvenient things like us away.
It's the core tension. How do we design future systems, technological or social, to embody that centering principle, to have built-in qualitative values, that BG3 resonance, not just processing power. It's a huge design challenge.
Let's revisit reincarnation, too. If the deeper reality is non-linear,
Then the idea of lives happening one after another like beads on a string doesn't quite fit. There's no before and after in that simultaneous realm.
so how should we reframe it?
Perhaps think of different lives not as sequential events, but as streams of information, experiences, qualities that resonate together. They all coexist and continuously enrich a single immortal field, the eternal soul.
So we're kind of living in all of them simultaneously, and they're informing us now.
Oh, wait, yes. They resonate within us. Our linear brain just translates that resonance into a story that unfolds sequentially, because that's the only way it can process it through the sensory filter.
Okay, finally, let's really nail the difference between this qualitative science and, say, traditional sacred geometry.
It's a crucial distinction. Sacred geometry, as commonly understood, is often based on quantitative mathematical series. The most famous is the Fibonacci sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, which relates to the golden mean about 1.618. It's about the mathematics of proportion.
Quantity, numbers and relationship.
Yes, and older systems like Feng Shui or Vastu, while containing wisdom, are often tied to specific cultural contexts, geographic locations, or pre-industrial eras. They may struggle to address modern global technological stressors effectively.
And biogeometry.
Biogeometry is based on qualitative series. The numbers involved, like maybe 16, 19, 28, 34, as examples Ibrahim uses, have no direct mathematical relationship to each other. You can't derive one from the next using a formula.
So what connects them?
They all resonate with the exact same quality. In the case of BG3, they all resonate with that specific centering quality found in power spots. It's a physics of resonant quality, not mathematical quantity.
Making it potentially more universal and applicable to modern issues like AMF.
That's the argument. It's presented as a modern physics of quality, designed specifically to work with energy qualities and resonance, providing solutions that can function anywhere, regardless of culture or specific location, because it's based on universal centering principles. So we've journeyed pretty deep today, from understanding the two kinds of time, linear, mortal time versus the universal immortal pulse, to seeing how shape defines quality and function.
And realizing that this dialogue between the two realities is happening constantly within our own bodies.
Exactly. And that the key to harmony lies in that centering principle, the BG3 quality, which biogeometry seeks to measure and restore.
Your knowledge shortcut is now loaded. So here's the final challenge for you, the listener, to take this from theory into practice.
Pick just one thing from our dive today. Maybe one room in your house, one daily routine like your morning coffee, or even one relationship dynamic.
And consciously incorporate one centering act into it this week. It could be placing a spiral or curved object in that room, using one of the hand postures for a minute during that routine, or simply applying that hyper-detailed noticing drill within that relationship interaction.
Then just observe. Note one measurable change maybe in your stress level, your feeling of energy, your clarity, or the quality of interaction within the next 7 days. See which shifts.
That's how the physics of quality stops being an idea and starts becoming your lived reality.
Thank you for diving deep with us today.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.